So on screen right now are a few of the earliest pieces of concept art we ever got for Battlefield 2042. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice something pretty interesting. There are absolutely no specialists anywhere, and there's actually a huge reason why that is that I will share later in the video. Battlefield 2042 was a game that never really knew what it was supposed to be. Was this going to be EA's response to the increasingly popular Battle Royale mode that was taking the gaming world by storm in 2019? Or was this going to be a return to modern combat for the Battlefield franchise after 2 games in a row set in historical settings such as World War I and World War II? Even today, almost 4 years after its launch, it is clear that this game never truly had an identity. The specialists seem extremely awkwardly joyful and out of place in a world where countries have fallen and society has collapsed. Some maps are bright, clean, and plasticky, while others are apocalyptic and sci-fi. Battlefield 2042 will forever just be an extremely strange video game, and today, with all of the leaks for Battlefield 6 swirling around on the internet and the hype that's building day by day, I wanted to bring us back in time and tell the story of the hellish development for 2042, how it was doomed from the start to fail, and to give us all a friendly reminder of how EA had no problem completely lying to our face. Really quick though, if you are enjoying the video, make sure to hit that like button, it does help me out a lot, and subscribe for more Battlefield content as we wait for the new game. Let's go back to 2018. This is the year that Battlefield 2042 actually started its development. But first, it's important to give the context of what the franchise was going through at the time. Battlefield 5 had just been released, and to the dismay of the entire fan base, the game was completely barren of content and a huge disappointment. The alternative World War II setting did not land at all. Firestorm, the franchise's first attempt at a battle royale, had flopped tremendously, and the controversy surrounding the game when it came to statements from Patrick Soderlund such as, "If you don't like it, don't buy it," all compounded and left the Battlefield franchise sitting on a fat L with Battlefield 5 after the impressive success of Battlefield 1. And with this, many of the core Battlefield developers who had a combined 90 plus years of experience began to leave the studio, including Patrick Soderlund himself, who went on to found Embark Studios, who you probably know now is responsible for the finals. The biggest complaint being creative freedom. Developers would pitch EA amazing ideas and concepts that were way ahead of their time, but were consistently shot down, leaving them frustrated and wanting a change of scenery. EA, on the other hand, had apparently made its mind up already when it came to the direction of the next Battlefield game. Everywhere you looked back in 2018 and even into 2019, was Battle Royale. Fortnite had taken the gaming world by storm. PUBG was still huge, and Apex Legends was in development, being produced by Respawn Entertainment and EA. However, behind the scenes, EA was not incredibly confident with Apex Legends before release, because it was practically an entirely new IP, so to them, the risk was extremely high. And with the thought of missing out on the success and revenue that the Battle Royale genre was providing, they got desperate. So they asked themselves, what franchise do we have that's already established that could fit this genre? You guessed it, Battlefield. So around this time in late 2018, EA actually went to DICE and told them to make the next Battlefield game a Battle Royale and to pretty much just copy what is popular. And that's how development on 2042 started, as a Battle Royale game. A lot of the elements that we see even now, such as the plus system and vehicle drop-ins, were developed during this early stage, where the game's direction was 100% Battlefield Battle Royale. However, the development of this Battle Royale was not going well at all. The studio had decided to update the Frostbite engine for the new game, an update sorely needed due to the previous game, Battlefield 5, actually being released on a 2016 version of the Frostbite engine. And remember all those developers I told you about earlier that quit? Well, a lot of them were developers who had been working and updating the Frostbite engine for the past decade or so. With them gone and little to no senior leadership left, the new DICE team struggled immensely updating the Frostbite engine. A project that should have taken 6 months took them 18 months. 2042 was already off to a rocky start. Next, let's jump forward a couple years in time to 2020. Of course, we all know what happened that year, the pandemic, of course, which altered the trajectory of development for 2042 even further. On top of already struggling with the update for the Frostbite engine, more and more problems started to emerge due to the difficulty in communication and collaboration that working from home had created. And this is one area where I can kind of give the developers some sort of slack, right? Like, these were truly unprecedented working conditions, and I can only imagine how stressful it must have been trying to create a game completely remote after doing so in studio for years and years. And also in 2020, the removal of our beloved class system and the shift towards specialists occurred. With the success of Apex Legends and Call of Duty's new successful endeavor, Warzone, EA saw the opportunity to monetize Battlefield with characters and specialists rather than full-on customization like we had in previous titles, or with loot boxes, which were wildly unpopular at the time and even illegal in some countries. That, combined with data that supposedly pointed to players in Battlefield 5 preferring to buy the elite classes over skin bundles, the switch to specialists was unfortunately made. And that's why in a lot of this early concept art for 2042, there are practically no specialists anywhere to be seen. Pieces of concept art like these ones that I'm going to show on screen right now show a grounded, more traditional Battlefield player model for each class like we were all hoping for. Ultimately, these were scrapped and replaced with the specialists we all know now and absolutely despise. Fast forward again a couple of months to August of 2020, EA chose to make another huge decision with 2042, which in my opinion was the final nail in the coffin for the game's chances of being successful at launch. With Warzone's massive success and Apex Legends continuing to grow in popularity, EA decided to shift Battlefield 2042 back to a traditional Battlefield game and completely scrap the Battle Royale the studio had been working on for almost 2 years at this point. On the surface level, as a Battlefield fan myself, this sounds like a good idea, right? Scrap the Battle Royale game that you know can no longer compete with Warzone and shift back to what you know you're good at. The problem was, by this point, the game was already 2 years in development. And with the hardships the pandemic was creating with the remote working environment, this transition back to a traditional Battlefield game was incredibly difficult. Because now, a game set to release in 2021, the following year, with 2 years of development already under its belt, was scrapped and restarted. The problem was, the release window wasn't. So now, DICE had to create a Battlefield game using the existing assets and specialists that they had been working on and conceptualizing for the original Battle Royale, and now they only had a year to do it. And this is when multiple studios started being brought in to help the development of 2042. DICE just couldn't do it on their own at this point. The window had been cut too short and the game had changed directions way too late in its development cycle. And to kind of throw my personal opinion in real quick, I kind of feel conflicted on this decision, right? Like, I think committing to the original Battle Royale would have been way more catastrophic compared to how 2042 ended up actually being released. It wasn't so much the decision to scrap the Battle Royale and make a traditional Battlefield game that was the problem. It was just the timing of when they did it, which effectively screwed any chance this game would be good at launch. And it's hard to blame that one on DICE, they were just doing what they were told, and EA completely mishandled the situation. And now, for the final chapter of this hellish disaster that was 2042's development, we jump forward in time again to 2021, the launch year. Announcements and official reveal trailers released early on in the year, with measures being taken allegedly to record the gameplay for the trailer in such a way as to not show the blaring problems and bugs the game still had. EA CEO Andrew Wilson was also quoted at the time claiming that the next Battlefield game was ahead of schedule. And from an outsider's perspective, I remember reading those articles and being extremely excited for the next game. It sounded like they were going back to the roots of Battlefield finally, and bringing it to the next level on an entirely new scale. The trailers were pure nostalgia bait for Battlefield veterans, with one featuring the Rendezvous, and another cinematic trailer giving a nod to Battlefield 3 and 4 with familiar characters like Irish and even the dinosaur toy from Battlefield 3's campaign mission Thunder Run. Wait, was Irish a specialist? That that actually sounds kind of cool. I can live with that. This looks really cool. You know, we all just wanted to play it. Then October 6th came around, day one of the open beta for 2042, and we finally did, and all of our hearts sunk. I remember seeing gameplay footage of the beta before downloading it myself on the Battlefield subreddit. I was just like scrolling really fast, and I didn't even realize that the gameplay I was seeing was the next Battlefield game. I'm being completely honest. I thought it was a different game at first glance, because in my head, there's no way something that looked so bad and even amateur could be this highly anticipated Battlefield game that I've been dying to play since 2020, and then I played it. The beta was an absolute disaster. If you guys played that beta, which I'm guessing most of you did, it's hard to even summarize everything that was extremely wrong and broken with that beta. Players in the distance didn't even have run animations. They would just glide on the ground. I don't know if you guys remember that. Jets and helicopters would stutter around in the sky. Bullets didn't register half of the time. The map, which seemed cool at first because it was something new, quickly became increasingly more suspicious and empty as you played. Everyone on both teams looked identical. I couldn't tell who was a friendly or who was a foe. There was no scoreboard. There's no chat feature. Wait, I can't even change teams. Wait, how do I invite my friends to my squad? This UI looks horrendous. What the fuck is this hovercraft? What the fuck is going on? Maybe it's just the beta, right? Like this can't be the game. Yeah, this is just an old. Yeah, they said this is just an old build. It'll be fine. We have Irish, bro. Okay, the Rendezvous in the trailer. This game's gonna be good. And then the dreadful day. November 19th, 2021, a forever recognized day of mourning for the Battlefield community. A broken, buggy, unfinished hero shooter somehow got installed onto my PC, and we all couldn't believe it, because this was a uniquely broken Battlefield game. Not just buggy or a game with poor netcode. No, it just wasn't even Battlefield anymore. And it's funny because sometimes I go back and watch my old videos on this channel from like 4 years ago where I'm just so excited for the new game, and I'm just like, oh man, dude, you had no idea. And when that game came out, I remember back in the time, I just stopped uploading. I didn't even care to play the game until they brought classes back. And to wrap up the video, look, I'm not the first to make a video about this topic at all. In fact, I want to give a huge shout out and a ton of credit to Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming. He has a 30-minute long video on his channel about this topic that I pulled a lot of information from to use in this video. I'm going to link it in the description below if you want to check it out, because it goes into a lot more detail on each point, but I thought it would be good timing to revisit this story and give a bit more of a condensed version, because we are currently on the hype train for the next Battlefield game. The cycle has begun again, and I want to leave you with 2 points. Point number 1 is, this is a friendly reminder to you that we need to be cautiously optimistic for this next game. Last time, they straight up lied to our face and told us the game was ahead of schedule and feature complete. We need to hold them accountable and continue to do so no matter how promising any of the leaked gameplay or the concept art looks. But that also leads me to point number 2. Battlefield 2042 was developed during a very unique and unprecedented time with the pandemic. In fact, although the direction for the game was still completely off what we wanted, I would bet money that if the game had been developed under normal circumstances, it would have released in a far better state than it ended up being. This new upcoming game won't have those same challenges and has an actual additional year under its belt for development compared to 2042. So although I'm cautiously optimistic, I think it's okay to have a bit more optimism this time around and get genuinely excited with what we're seeing. And look, this doesn't mean I'm pre-ordering the deluxe steel case edition tomorrow, okay? Two things can be true at once. This next game looks genuinely promising, but also, DICE, EA, this is truly your last chance. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. This is a bit different than most of the content I make on here, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please make sure to leave a like. It truly does help the channel out a lot. And subscribe for more content while we nervously await this next game and what it will offer. But until the next video, my name is Sam. Have a good one. Bye.